Friends, how are we doing? Great. It's so great to have you all here today. Don't let me down, all right? Don't let us down. Don't let the Lord down. Today we have Abby Johnson with us. She's a very popular figure. Popular because for a long, important time in her life, she worked for Planned Parenthood, a fairly famous abortion clinic in the United States. She herself is from the U.S. and is going to share with us a little about this time in her life up until her conversion.
Abby,
how are you? Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Abby,
how about starting at the beginning? Your childhood, what your family was like?
Well, I grew up actually in Louisiana and in the United States, and grew up in an amazing family. I'm an only child. I've got two amazing parents, and was raised in Protestant church. I was raised Baptist, and was baptized when I was 8. I knew the Lord. I loved the Lord. I remember, talking in high school about my faith, and being involved in youth group, and so I had a very strong faith growing up, and certainly my parents are have always been very active in their church and in their faith tradition, and so it wasn't until I got into college that I really started to stray from how I had been taught and the beliefs that I had been raised with.
Can you explain what sort of work is carried out in this type of clinic?
Planned Parenthood is the largest abortion provider in the United States. Annually, they provide over 330,000 abortions across the country. There's about 1.2 million abortions in the United States every year. So they are the largest provider. They're the largest abortion chain in the United States. Planned Parenthood has been very successful in the States, and I think throughout the world, because of their International Planned Parenthood Federation, of convincing the public that their goal is to help women get low-cost health care. So, help low-income women, women who are impoverished, women who don't have health insurance, to help them, get annual exams or, testing of different sorts, or certainly they're a large provider of hormonal contraceptive methods. So that's really what they have presented themselves as, is kind of this benefactor to the masses. But in reality, their goal is to create abortion clients. So, they want to begin their graphic sex education programs in kindergarten in our public school system, so that they can develop a relationship with children at a very young age. And actually part of the program is telling these children that, if they get to a point where they feel like they can't talk to their parents, then Planned Parenthood is a safe place for them to go. And I remember, we would say at Planned Parenthood, we want to reduce the abortion number. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that by basically contracepting the masses. So beginning girls as young as 10 and 11 on hormonal contraceptive options, knowing that eventually that contraceptive method is going to fail. And when it does fail, where are they going to go? They're going to come to us, because we developed a relationship with them when they were 5 years old in grade school. So it all comes back to selling their most profitable product, and that is abortion. They're making the most money off of abortion procedures, and abortion to them, to Planned Parenthood, is a product that they sell.
So I understand that you were pretty young when you started to work for Planned Parenthood. Little by little, you started moving up. How did you feel?
You know, when I first started working at Planned Parenthood, I was just seeing patients. You know, I was just seeing them for health care, you know, for annual exams, for breast care, for checkups, you know, things like that. And I believed that I was helping women, and I believed that I was doing the right thing by helping these women. And in my mind, you know, I thought, well, abortion is something like a necessary evil. So we don't like it, but if we don't have safe abortion, if we don't have safe and legal abortion, then women are going to go to these illegal places. It's going to be unsafe. And so in order to truly help women and protect them, then we have to keep abortion safe and legal. And I thought that we also wanted to keep abortion rare. And really honestly believe that throughout my time with Planned Parenthood. I mean, it's what I said when I talked to people in the media. It's, you know, I tried to convince my friends and family that's what our goal was, is that we want to keep abortion rare. But it wasn't until I got higher up in the organization that I finally realized that our goal was to sell abortion and that it was a product. And, you know, I could see on our budget, the line item, our abortion quota, you know, the amount of abortions that we had to sell to women coming into our facilities. And that made it pretty clear that it was not something that we were trying to keep rare, but we were trying to push it. We were salespeople, and we were trying to push this product on women. And to be perfectly honest, it's not difficult to sell an abortion to a woman who is feeling vulnerable and confused and scared and alone, because we are promising her that we're going to solve this crisis by providing an abortion. And these women are so desperate to find a solution that they would believe anything we told them.
¿Qué te hace ser?
What makes you start promoting abortion? And how did you go later from pro-abortion to pro-life? What happened to make you change your mind?
So we had a visiting physician come in from out of town, and he owned his own abortion facility in Texas, and he had explained to me that at his own private abortion facility, that when he did abortions, he always used an ultrasound so that he would be able to see what was taking place inside the woman's womb during the abortion. And I just thought, wow, I've never thought about that, because here at Planned Parenthood, our protocol states that abortion is done in a blind manner. So the doctor just has a, you know, suction tube, and they just blindly probe in and out of the woman's uterus until they think they have enough blood and tissue in a jar. And so this was a very new concept to me, and something, you know, honestly, I was interested in knowing more about. So he told me that when he came to our clinic that, you know, if the right patient presented herself, that he would call me in so he could show me what this looked like. And so I was asked to come in, and my job was to hold the ultrasound probe on the woman's abdomen during the abortion so that the doctor would be able to see the baby on the screen. And, you know, I just remember watching in horror. I saw this 13-week-old baby when the abortion began. I just saw this baby trying to get away from that abortion instrument, and this baby was fighting and struggling for its life. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. I had believed for so long that, you know, this tissue was nothing. It was just something to be discarded, that It didn't matter that there was no humanity there. I remember, saying out loud that, pregnancy becomes a baby when the mother decides that she wants to be a mom. I mean, all of these crazy, illogical things that I had convinced myself of while I worked there just suddenly became it was very apparent to me that those had all been untrue. So I knew then that I was going to have to leave. I didn't know what that was going to look like, but I knew I had to get out. I knew I couldn't be a part of that anymore, and it took me about a week to leave. I didn't want to leave my job. I did not, but ultimately I knew that I had to leave. I had to get out, and so I made that decision and actually contacted a pro-life group in my community and told them that I wanted to leave and I needed their help. And they just kind of hit the ground running, and they were trying to help me in all these different ways. And then when Planned Parenthood found out that I was actually, I'd gone to the pro-life group, they took me to court, and they were concerned about proprietary information, business information getting out, and certainly did not want me to talk about all the things that I had seen inside the abortion industry. And so they tried to sue me, but they obviously failed. I'm talking to you today, really just trying to show what's taking place inside these clinics and to show women that we don't have to choose abortion, that there are better options for us, and that we can make a better choice. And just really trying to expose the danger of abortion and the lifelong.
You've actually had an abortion.
I have two.
Thinking about the girls who might be watching right now, what would you say to them? What kind of consequences does abortion have?
It wasn't until I actually left Planned Parenthood that the full realization of what I had done to my own children kind of sunk in. I mean, I've had two abortions. At the time, I remember just feeling relieved that, okay, it was over, it was done. This bad decision making in my life can now be a big secret, and nobody will have to know. And abortion's legal, so it can't be that bad, right? If it's legal. And but now looking back, I mean, that's the myth of the word pro-choice, is that women have abortions because they feel like they have no other choice. Nobody wants to have an abortion. Nobody wants to work in an abortion clinic. No, abortion is not something that people desire. It's something that they feel forced into doing, maybe by someone else, maybe by pressures that they're putting on themselves. And we always say that the answer to a crisis pregnancy is not abortion. That abortion is not going to eliminate the crisis. It is only going to escalate that crisis. It's going to compound the crises in your life, these situations that you're going through, and it will leave a lifelong scar in your soul and in your spirit. And it's something that will never go away. You can heal from it, but just like any scar, that reminder will always be there. And so, I just want women to know that they do deserve better than abortion, that there are better options for them, and that there are groups here in Spain and throughout the world that will help pregnant mothers, figure out what other options are available for them, that they don't have to do this alone, that they're not alone, that they have support. They just need to reach out and find it.
Has dicho que eras pro
You mentioned
aborto.
before that you were pro-abortion, and now you're pro-life. When did you enter the Catholic Church?
You know, I think, honestly, I look back at my time with Planned Parenthood, and I can see things that happened during that 8 years where I go, no wonder I'm Catholic. My mom says I was born a Catholic because, you know, here I was in this Protestant, this Baptist church, and I remember as a kid, I would sit in front of the TV and watch EWTN, and I would watch Mother Angelica on EWTN, and you know, all these kids, you know, they dress up and they, oh, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, whatever. Well, I would put a towel on my head and say, I'm going to be a nun. And, you know, so here's this Baptist kid, you know, proclaiming that they're going to be a nun. My parents were like, what's wrong with her? And so, you know, even as a child, I mean, I think there was always an interest for me in the Catholic faith. And I remember being in high school and really wanting to learn more about Mary. And I remember saying something about it, you know, to our pastor. You know, we talk about Ruth and we talk about Esther and Judith and we talk about all these women in the Bible. We are never talking about the most important woman to ever walk the face of the earth, you know, and that's Jesus' mother. And I just kind of got the standard, like, you know, don't talk about that. And that was frustrating for me. You know, why aren't we using her as an example of a woman that we want to be like, that we want to, you know, imitate, that we want to strive to be? And that was very frustrating for me. And then, so I think even that whole time, I think our Blessed Mother was like, she was just little by little working on me. And so, you know, we tried to find different churches. We tried to get involved in, you know, different churches, non-Catholic churches. Because, you know, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I believed a lot of myths about the Catholic Church, you know. You could say I maybe was a little anti-Catholic. And so, and my husband was the same way, you know, but we were getting kind of bothered, nagged by our new pro-life friends who were all Catholic, and they kept saying, you know, oh, you should go to Mass, you should go to Mass. And I thought, let's just go so they'll stop bugging us about it. And we went one Sunday, and it was just, I remember my husband and I just, you know, talking after Mass and just saying, this feels right and we need to find out more. And so we got into the RCIA program and just started learning more about the church. It was tough because we had this huge learning curve. You know, here I was, you know, almost 30 and having to relearn about the Bible and matters of faith, and after being separated from God for so long, having to reintegrate my life and with faith, that was tough. But I think we just knew from the beginning that it was something that we wanted to know more about, and you know, nothing moves quickly in the Catholic Church. So our process of coming into the church was lengthy, but when it finally did happen, my husband and I came into the church together Easter of 2012, and it was beautiful. It's you know, the best decision that I've ever made, and it's the best decision we've ever made as a family.
What do you most admire about the church? And what was the hardest thing for you to accept?
Well, I think probably the thing that really made me love the church right off the bat was the fact that the church has been the same. I mean, the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church, right? And so one of the things that frustrated me a lot about being Protestant was that you could go to 5 different churches and have 5 different interpretations of Scripture, or 5 different sets of rules, right, for what God wants you to do. And that was very annoying for me. I thought there has to be one right answer and everybody else has to be wrong. I mean, that's just the way it is, right? It can't be that all 5 are right. Somebody has to be right, somebody has to be wrong, and who is it, And so leaving that up to me to figure that out, I don't have the knowledge or the spirit to figure those sorts of matters out. So that was really, knowing that we had the magisterium of the church. I mean, that really drew me to the church. And the thing that is most frustrating for me as a Catholic is the lack of formation on contraceptive issues, life issues, abortion in the church. In the United States, we've got 85% of Catholic women are contracepting. And I think it's because, we have not done a good enough job of really talking about forming these women and men about, the sanctity of life in the church. I mean, we're, it's in the catechism, but we have very few priests that are speaking on these issues, in their homilies. We have even fewer bishops that are really actively speaking out against abortion, and not just speaking out against abortion, but then talking about the healing that can come if a woman or a man has experienced an abortion. So I think we've got, all of these hurting people sitting in our churches that don't know where to go, and they're too ashamed to even talk about their abortions and reconciliation, and then many priests are not giving them information about that post-abortive resource when they do talk about their abortions and reconciliation. And so I think there's been a disconnect in the church, and we don't want to offend people, and that's very irritating for me because, we didn't come here to make friends, right? We came here to speak the truth, and to speak the truth in love. And, if we can't do that in the church, then where can we do it? That should be the safest place to talk about the truth, and the truth in the church, and, the truth of God. And
what do you think could help to put an end to abortion within the church and among Christians and Catholics?
I think it has to be prayer and action. And, to be honest, if we have a serious prayer life, then it ought to move us to action. And I think, there's a lot of people that all they can do is pray. They're elderly, they're homebound, whatever it may be, and they pray, and that's enough. That's fantastic. But for those of us that can get out there and can do something more, we ought to be. And it's not just enough just to say we're pro-life, but we have to actually be pro-life. And that takes conviction, and it takes courage. And it's not always popular to be pro-life. That's okay. God didn't send us here to win a popularity contest. It's not always politically correct to be pro-life, but that's okay, because we are here to proclaim the truth of God. And sometimes that's going to go against popular opinion. Sometimes that's going to go against our political system. But in the end, we're not going to be held accountable for how well we fit in with different groups. We're going to be held accountable for how well we spoke the message of God, and how we lived out that lifestyle, and how we lived out the gospel of life. And so, I think prayer is absolutely important, but coupled with that has to be action. It has to be a spirit of urgency. I mean, babies are dying every day. And I think if we really could understand the evil of abortion, if we really could understand just the pain that this brings the heart of God, we would have no choice but to be out there and to be active and to be doing something. And so, I just encourage people to, really sit down and consider how abortion is affecting our society, how it's affecting our culture. And I think once we really understand that, once we really understand what's happening to these babies during an abortion and how these moms are affected, how dads are affected, how families are affected, it ought to spur us into action to do more.
Thank you, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Amigos.
Friends, what Abby says is true. It's true that we need a spirit of urgency, in the sense that we have to use prayer to fight against abortion. And we have to pray like true Catholics, against the fact that children are being killed. Killed using these words. As Christians and Catholics, we must fight in order to educate our adolescents and the young people of today. They are completely uninformed. They don't know about natural family planning, or natural methods, or how to live a faithful, loving relationship, and how to remain a virgin until marriage, and give that love not only to each other, but to God. Putting myself in the shoes of those young women who are lost and confused, and pregnant for whatever reason. We're not going to go into detail and we're not going to judge, but they're looking for a way out. Maybe they even walk into a church looking for an answer to their questions and they can't find it. Please, priests, men and women religious of the world, give these young people answers. Not only by prayer, but through your actions. Please, give them answers. Friends, until next time, thank you. Thank you for being there.